Welcome to Paranormal Lens, presented by Jotnix Paranormal. I'm Kirstin Tricano, and joining me tonight is Chad Thomas and Jamie Widener.
How are you doing, Kirstin?
Wow, how have you guys been?
Living the dream, really.
Yeah.
Why not? Like always, it's been a week, and the highlight is we're back. So I'll leave it there and move on to Chad.
Well, I had a busy week as usual with stuff going on at the high school and helping them out. But I had a chance to sit down with our good friends Jeff and Sean
Yeah.
from Penn State, Harrisburg, and they're doing a research project on paranormal investigators and paranormal investigations, and tied into their folklore and their whole studies that they do. And we had a really great conversation. And we were at a venue in Marietta, which was really cool. I'd never been there before. And in about 20 minutes of sitting there, I saw a shadow figure walk from the bar into the dining room. And I'm like looking, and they're like, what? I'm like, you didn't see that? And they're like, nope. So anyway,
it was cool.
Yeah. So, and Sean cut his hair. Like, I didn't recognize him. Sean cut his hair.
What?
So, but it looked good. So anyway, so yeah, that's me. That's what's going on here.
All right. Well, for the reference point of Sean, he has had, as long as we've known him, longer than shoulder length hair.
Long hair. Yeah.
Like long hair. And anything less would be wow. So it's identifier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I walked in. He was sitting at the bar when I walked in, and I did a double take because it took me a second to recognize him. So, but anyway, yeah, that was my week in a nutshell.
Very cool.
I mean, I think this is probably the first week I haven't had like chaos and hecticness, so that's a plus.
Knock on something.
Yeah, it's only for now. Next week will be different.
Understood. The joys of toddling.
Yeah.
Yep. So, so what do you got for us this week, Kirstin?
I got something. I'll start by saying I think this has been probably one of my favorite things to do some research on. I mean, it's haunted and it's history, and I'm a big fan of history. Also a very big fan of Tudor history. So with that, we're going to get right into Hampton Palace.
Cool.
So go ahead and get started. Hampton Court Palace began its life in the early 16th century, not as a royal residence, but as an ambitious vision of Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, chief minister to King Henry VIII. Wolsey wanted nothing less than a place to fit in to impress Europe, a place where monarchs, courtiers, and kings from across the continent could be entertained in breathtaking luxury. He poured enormous wealth into the project and succeeded almost too well. Henry took notice, and in perfect Tudor politics, Henry decided that Hampton Court would be one of his homes. By the 1530s, Hampton Court had become far more than a palace. It was a royal residence, a political stage, a luxury hotel, a theater, and a vast leisure complex. Henry used Hampton Court to demonstrate his magnificence and dominance in every way possible through lavish banquets, extravagant court life, and extraordinary expensive art. This palace housed the king's state and private apartments, the queen's private room, and accommodation for courtiers carefully designed to reflect their rank and status. Around Base Court, the grand entrance courtyard, there were 30 suites of lodging, reserved for the most important visitors, which intended to impress and intimidate in equal measure. All 6 of Henry's wives walked these corridors, though some not had many happy memories, which is also very surprising. With the haunts, there was only actually two of Henry's wives that have been seen here, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The Stuart era in 17th century brought drama of an entirely different kind. Sorry, I have a cat that just decided he wanted to join in. In 1603, the palace's Great Hall hosted performances by William Shakespeare's Kingsmen, who staged Hamlet and the forbidden Scottish play Macbeth for the newly crowned James I. James also convened the Hampton Court Conference of 1604, which was a religious meeting that ultimately led to the publication of King James Bible in 1611. His son Charles I filled the palace with masterpieces, including Mantegna's Triumph of Caesar's painting. I probably really said that name wrong, and I apologize. But by 1647, the tone had changed. After defeat in the English Civil War, Charles was held under house arrest at the Hampton Court. His art-filled palace transformed into a gilded prison. He attempted to escape through Privy Garden, but was later recaptured and executed in 1649. During the Commonwealth period, Oliver Cromwell saved Hampton Court from destruction by making it his home. Despite his Puritan reputation, Cromwell appreciated fine art and admired the palace's tapestries and lived there, ironically, much like a king. By William III and Mary II when they took throne in 1689, they commissioned for Sir Christopher Wren to redesign Hampton Court. Wren originally planned to demolish the entire palace, but instead created a stunning fountain court, blending Baroque elegance with Tudor grandeur and preserving much of the original structure. Later, George I and George II expanded the palace further, transforming rooms into theaters, assembly halls, and grand apartments. By 1737, Hampton Court ceased to be a royal residence. The palace quickly filled with grace and favor residents, often aristocrats, widows, granted free accommodation and recognition for their husbands' services. Though grand, the apartments were cold, damp, and often lacking hot water. Complaints were frequent, but residents continued to live there well into the 20th century. In 1838, Queen Victoria opened Hampton Court to the public. Visitors flooded to admire the architecture, maze, and gardens. In 1881, over 10 million visitors had passed through its gates. But that became more than history. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the ghost. Like I said, there was only two wives of Henry that actually have had sites there. The first one was Jane Seymour, and she is actually known as the White Wraith there. Jane Seymour was the third wife of Henry, and she died in 1537. I'm not starting over, Bert. I'm sorry.
Snooze, you lose.
You're just going to have to rewind a little bit. It's okay. So yes, Jane died in 1537 after giving birth to the long-awaited male heir, Edward. Her ghost is said to appear as a pale white figure carrying a candle on the silver stick stairs near the room where she gave birth and died, and it's often on the anniversary of Edward's birth that she is seen. The other wife that is seen is actually the fifth wife of Henry, Catherine Howard. She was arrested in Hampton Court for adultery and treason. The terrified teenager reportedly broke free from her guards and ran down what is now known as the Haunted Gallery, screaming for Henry's mercy. Sadly, she had never reached him, for the guards had stopped her right outside the chapel before she could enter the doors. Her anguished ghost is said to repeat this desperate run, screaming through the gallery for eternity. Another ghost is the Grey Lady. The Grey Lady is believed to be Sybil Penn. She was a servant to 4 Tudor monarchs and the wet nurse to Edward. After her tomb was disturbed in 1829, sightings began of a gray-clad woman walking through the palace. She is linked to mysterious spinning wheel sounds, later traced to an old wheel hidden behind the walls. In 2000, psychologist Richard Wiseman conducted an experiment in Hampton Court. Volunteers, believers, and skeptics alike reported strange sensations in the same location, particularly the haunted gallery and the Georgian rooms. Something was happening, and exactly what was unclear. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Yeah, here it is. In 1871, 2 skeletons were discovered beneath Fountain Court. After years of unexplained knocking had been heard by nearby residents, the skeletons were actually found to be believed of 2 opposing soldiers that were part of the English Civil War. As soon as those bodies were actually moved and laid to a different grave for rest, the knocking had mysteriously stopped. And in 2003, CCTV footage appeared to show a fire door violently opening on its own, to having a figure that no one could explain standing there, grabbing the doors and closing them again. I've seen that video. That's a pretty big one that's been going around. Actually, right now, that top left photo is actually the part of that CCTV clip. Some people will sit there and say it's a Skeletor apparition. Others will actually say that it is Catherine Howard, although it is nowhere near the art gallery. So that is why some people do not believe it is her. Most of the employees that work at Hampton Court were actually asked about that video, and no one has ever come forward on if it was them or not. Hampton Court Palace stands as a monument to power, ambition, art, and echoes left behind by those who lived and died within its walls. So that is all I have. This all came from www.hrp.org.uk. I was actually talking to Chad earlier as I was trying to get more photos and everything for Hampton Court. I found a whole subreddit of people giving their stories and sightings that they have actually had at Hampton Court. It sent me down a rabbit hole. It was very fascinating to actually kind of hear some of like these firsthand like stories, just even like reading them online. Hoping we can get the slides back up, because there are a few of those photos I do want to talk about.
No, I'm not sure why it keeps.
Why it keeps going like this?
Yeah, I often wondered why the icon or logo for Reddit wasn't an actual rabbit. You know, that seems like every time you look at it, you're just going and going down these holes and paths, and like you could be there all day. And many have. No, but it's an engagement. That's the best part. Like, it allows people to share their experiences in a place where it's repositoried. It's kept there.
Well, and that's where I found like 2 of the photos that are like, again, they're photos that people posted on Reddit. Part of me is like, I would love to believe them, but also I am a little skeptic about it because it's Reddit and the internet, and everything can be faked.
Well, there's some sources that we won't use, like in general,
Exactly.
And Reddit's one of them. Wikipedia is another one. Anytime where there's social input without academic base behind it or journalistic intent behind it. I'm not knocking anybody who's added to anything
Right.
by any means. That's not my place. I trust you, but as far as the source information that we're going to use is generally used as a reference is going to come from those locations.
So, Kirstin, I have this that we can step through it then if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first ones are just overviews of the outside of Hampton. It's massive.
Is there a count for the acreage of the place?
I could not find the acreage.
Would the number be a lot?
A number would be a lot. I mean, it started with Thomas Woolsey. It probably was not even that size. It was probably just a tiny little, what we would just see as like a large home.
The quick search find it's about 750 acres.
Yeah. Road trip. I would spend a whole week there.
Uh-huh.
Um,
You want to go to the next slide?
yeah. So yeah, it's been more into like the inside inner quarters and everything. Absolutely. For the time periods, I'm always fascinated by the architecture. But yeah.
Okay, we'll jump into the next one. I mean, the artwork and the vaulted ceilings are just gorgeous.
Absolutely. So the green hallway. Oh yeah, so many gardens.
Those are just the formal gardens, not the informal gardens.
Yeah, the informal gardens we don't talk about. The green hallway is actually the haunted gallery. So that is the hallway that Catherine Howard ran down, and where people have reported seeing her multiple times screaming. I would honestly love to see that happen.
I think we all would.
I give her credit because anybody who could sprint that far wearing the dresses of the day, they should let her go. She earned it.
Being a Ren Fair actor, having to wear a very closely historically accurate Henrician dress, your arms aren't going up far, and it's very hard to run in. And the dresses I'm still wearing are very much lighter than what they had on.
Right. Wow.
Now, like, do they have bustles and all those? Was that the time period, or is that?
Bustles were later on. So Henrician was very big on the cylindrical silhouette with the big bell sleeves, which surprisingly the big bell sleeves is what makes it very restricting. I did 3 years of only my arms going up this far. It was the Elizabethan era when they actually started adding more fabric, and they had what were known as bum rolls, and it was literally just a shelf to hold up all the fabric. And then I believe it was after Elizabeth they started adding in the bustles.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, like I said, the artwork and it's gorgeous.
Maybe a road trip for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you go to Hampton Court, I would love to hear your stories on the energy there, because that was another thing I was reading, was people talking about how interesting the energy changes between the rooms that you go to, because it's so many different eras all in one massive building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those of you who can't see this, it says we were planning a London, England trip early summer 2027, maybe a road trip for us, only 35 minutes away. So
I did tell my friend, she's been to England now twice, and I told her that researching this, it's been absolutely fascinating to me, and she said that I would probably love it there. But the little all the way to the right, the red and white fountain is actually where they found those 2 bodies.
Okay.
So again, I tried to do like the 2 sightings of Henry's wives. Um, you got the haunted gallery at the Green, and then the other one is actually the Silver Stick Stairs. Which, when I was doing the research and reading, I thought it was going to be this big grand staircase because she's a queen. They already have like these big open areas and grand rooms for these queens, and no, it's just this tiny little steps.
Hmm.
So I kind of found that interesting.
Were there other grand staircases?
There were, is one that was actually by the queen's apartment, and like if you look up Hampton Court, you'll see it. It has these big, gorgeous, like almost looks like cast iron rails that come down into this big open step. That one was in the queen's apartment area. And then I would assume over by Henry's apartments probably had something similar. I mean, it's Henry, it's a Tudors. They like to make everything big and grand from what I've been reading.
Yeah, this almost reminds me of like servant stairs in some of the like the
Right.
So yeah, so it's interesting that it is smaller and downscaled.
Right. Like some of the other photos, like big open rooms and gorgeous, like everything. And then just those stairs by the queen's room. So then, yeah, I have some photos here that again, some I'm not fully trusting just because they're just photos that people have posted. The top left is the one that is from that CCT. That is one that still I would like to actually do more testing to actually, or like see like more experiments happening, because no one can explain what happened there. Because I remember when that video started dropping and like there was a lot of talk and everything and interviews happening, because like I remember NBC picked this up as a news article to talk about, and it was after the palace had closed for the like day, so
Huh.
no one was supposed to be there and no one can figure out what like who was that. The top one next to it is actually a print that you can buy at the gift store at Hampton Palace, and it is their view of what Jane Seymour would have looked like going to the stairs. We saw the top left one on the Paranormal. That is actually where I saw it too.
And that happened in what, 2003?
It was in 2003, yeah.
Okay.
The bottom left, I would love to try and test things out to figure this one out. This one I found it on, again, it was on Reddit, and it took me to a link for Daily Mail, that it was a bus driver that took a tour group to Hampton Court and was walking around and was just taking photos, and got a photo of what looks like they've said, like, people have debated it's either the Gray Lady or it's Jane Seymour, but no one can really figure it out. And then the bottom right one, again, it was just a photo that was posted, and it was like this 12-year-old girl took 2 photos in succession, and this was in one of the photos. I fully don't believe it could be something tampered with, but it was interesting to me. If that thing was real, that would actually be horrifying, because that is a very tall woman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is all I got.
Okay. So, Jamie, what do you think?
Well, a couple things. One is, with the age and all of the trauma and drama associated to the property, through all of its iterations and all of its life, I can't imagine there's there's not something happening here. Um, I'm a little surprised, I guess, that there isn't more documented instances because the British were really good at documenting everything.
Oh,
Give them
yeah.
credit for that. The record keeping is amazing, and how far back it goes. So that takes me to two places. One is maybe that's all there is. I guess is one, but two maybe and think about the eras and the perception of the paranormal, in general, wouldn't even be paranormal back then. It might just, whatever it was, but not by that title. Maybe it was something we didn't talk about, or at least not much. So, there's probably a ton of anecdotal situations that have occurred that never made it into the history or annals of the property. Um, so I agree with you, Kirsten. I would love to go, and it would take a week. It would take a week just to see it, like just to all of it and absorb it, much less try to do anything more with it. I'm not gonna lie, I've never. I know about the place, but I don't know about it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and as I was perusing here while we were just chatting, I was trying to find a way to see if they had any paranormal investigation opportunities, and I don't see it. So I don't know that it is. But man, that would be a great opportunity to
Yeah,
be a
but
team that could go in there.
Bert has a good point here that I'm going to share. He says it's got to be haunted. I'm thinking the Royals don't want it getting out.
Well, probably, yeah.
That was and the,
And
when I
that's a
was
very valid point.
and when I was like originally trying to like see like is this a good topic to do? A lot of times it says it's one of the most haunted places in England. I'm just also wondering if everything that's getting put out is of the famous ghosts. I mean, you got the Wives of Henry
Mhm.
and things like that. Where, because like when I was again, I said to Chad, this has brought me down like a rabbit hole of down in the future. There's going to be a lot more other places being talked about, and like one of them like again brings in royal ghosts that have been seen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for that place. I don't want to say it because I don't want to. I want to keep that one hidden. But for that type of place with the amount of tragedy that's been around it, there has to be more spirits there.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Henry had a penchant for beheading wives, so
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's that alone.
after the joust accident, I think he definitely changed. He actually, from the history books I actually have, he wasn't always a mean king. He actually like had a near death experience and it like changed him mentally, and then start murdering your wives.
Mm-hmm. Bert has another thing here. I feel like there would be more servant spirits than well-known people.
Yeah.
I would honestly, again, like if there was some way to investigate there, I would love to just try and
Mm-hmm.
talk to a bunch of the servant spirits.
Mm-hmm. When I think when before we went on, you and I were talking about how Windsor, you don't hear any. There's no stories about.
No, well, and I
I,
Windsor is still like actively lived in by the royals, so I
right, and I think that ties back again to what Bert said. There's probably things that happen there. It's just kept under wraps because
mhm.
you don't want the thought of the royal family believing in go. Like that
Yeah,
whole thing. It, in our world, it's normal, but when you're a monarch,
yeah,
you
you
become
can't.
questionable.
Yeah,
So,
Well, that's when people like us want to go there and be there, for
mhm.
an active engagement with investigations, and that can't happen. So it's easier to say no or not discuss it than it is to start opening the gate, because then you get barraged. Right,
Right,
as soon as the door is open, the crack it gets pushed open the whole way,
right.
and it's better to say no and or not at all or deny at least than it
Right.
is to accept it and acknowledge,
Hmm.
especially in the sense of a private residence. And there is still some mystique about the royals. They still have power, obviously, too. So, they don't want folks just wandering through their property, and that's fair, right? Um, it kind of, and this is not related at all to that, but to this, but I was thinking something like this while we were at Wilson Castle. Now, not a real castle, very large house, but up in Rutland, Vermont, but the property inside the house, there are a ton of very valuable things that were collected through the years, by the Wilsons. And I'm standing in a room with Ming Dynasty vases and a chair from the Emperor of China as a gift for servicing the radio station and the radio towers there to get them up and running. There are other artifacts in other parts of the house that are just, to me, are priceless. And I'm in the house by myself. You know, I mean, that's Vermont, right? Welcome to a trusted space, and obviously, super kind and really nice, awesome people own the place that trust us as investigators not to do something stupid.
Right.
And it is cameraed, so don't even get the idea that you could, but you could if a crafty individual. But oh my gosh, and I'm just standing there thinking how much this thing costs, and it was mind boggling to me that I'm just there,
Right.
and get to and the place, of course, is gorgeous.
Right.
But think about that times whatever it is for the Royals, to get into these properties. I can see why we don't get to do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're
Now,
bursting.
it's not to say that activity doesn't happen in the daytime, and there's day tours. I can see
Right.
you can do that, and it costs like $38 to get in. So take your equipment with you and just kind of take a slow walk.
Yeah.
I've done daytime stuff and had success. So
yeah, Bert wants you just to call King Charles. I know you guys are buddies.
oh yeah, he's an old friend.
So
I'm sure he'll be fine with that if you call.
Yeah, I hate calling in favors like that, though. I mean, if I really need one.
Yeah.
No, I would love to just.
This coming from Heather is exactly to my point. We were all there together. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, walking around in the dark, bumping into something. Holy crap!
Yeah. You're in a room full of priceless artifacts, and you could have just knocked something over and destroyed it and not even known.
Mm-hmm.
What its true value was.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. I'm
ready to go back. Let's go.
I would honestly love to just do a trip over to England and for a week and just go to different places and literally just if I go to Hampton Court and just room by room just sit in there for a time for a little bit, start feeling the energy, see how what am I feeling, if anything happens.
Mm-hmm.
It'd take a week here. I think you need a month or two probably to get to everything.
I mean,
the time, the opportunity far exceeds the time.
Right.
I mean, I keep joking with Alex, we just need to take a month to go to Germany because the haunted places there, I'll be there for ever.
Yep, agreed. Much less to say what we have around us here. That's the cool thing about the paranormal. With there are people have been dying for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Things get labeled as everywhere. Yeah, things get labeled as haunted houses or haunted locations, but every place is haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere, right?
I mean, much to my husband's dismay, and he doesn't like to believe it, we have a shadow person in our house. It's okay though; they pay rent. Every once in a while, I get a penny thrown at me, so they're nice. They're paying.
You need to talk to him about inflation, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's okay. He also entertains the cats, so.
Well, you've got that going for you.
Yeah, as long as the cats are entertained.
Hey, speaking of a penny, I got to tell you guys this. This is a quick aside. I was approached by a fairly young coworker today, who asked me if someone says a penny for your thoughts, is that a real question or not? And I said yes. That means they want your opinion on something. That doesn't mean they're going to give you a physical penny, though.
I'm going to start giving a physical penny.
Yeah, and that was my first thing. I was like, I'm going to bring a roll of pennies and sit and ask question after question after question.
Well,
sorry, penny made me think of it. I apologize for saying
the problem is we don't make pennies anymore, Jamie. So now it's going to be a nickel that you give them.
Wow. Was that an old
Yeah,
song? A penny for
nickel.
thoughts, nickel for a kiss, dime if you tell me that you love me. Yeah, that was a song back in the day. So
Hmm.
there's already a scale. You got to adjust for inflation.
Yep. So
Oh my. Well, Joe, you asked me what I think. What do you think?
I mean,
Where are you at here?
I again, all these places with all this history, all this energy, um, it's got to be. It's got to be haunted. There's got to be things going on there round the clock. We investigate at night. We've talked about this, but there's things happening there all the time. Um, and maybe we're not picking it up on CCTV at night or during the day, but it could be happening. Maybe we're just not paying attention. So,
You know, there's one spirit that never comes up with Hampton Court, and it's Henry. And that is probably out of all like the royal famous ghosts, that's probably the one I would actually like to talk to the most. I
really?
don't think he'd talk back to me. I feel like as a woman, he would kind of just not.
Mhm.
But if there's a guy around, maybe.
That's an interesting thought. Maybe we'll have to have that discussion sometime. If we could talk to any spirit, who would it be?
Yes.
So, but anyway, Bert has a comment up here. I have a road trip folder on the computer. I'm researching places that are within driving distance.
Okay.
So
It's going to get to be a long list.
Yeah.
Make sure you have plenty of dot matrix paper. You got to print that out.
my dad's house is within driving distance. Oh, Dad, I know you've been watching, so we're not coming to investigate.
Yet.
I mean, unless you want us to say so. Oh my.
I mean, just how many haunted places in Lancaster are there?
Sure.
Yep.
A lot.
Well, I mean, Jamie and I were at a 4th of July party one time, and we had somebody come up to us who recognized us, and then they had a friend who's then they started talking about their house on, is it Walnut Street, Jamie?
Yeah,
I think it was Walnut
city.
Street in
Walnut or Chestnut.
yeah, and
Charlotte, maybe. It was downtown core.
yeah, so it was just like and just sharing information. So
Well, this is how it goes, though. When you have when you put yourself out there,
mhm.
that you do this, and regardless of what way you do it, whether you're consider yourself a ghost hunter, a paranormal investigator, an enthusiast, as a hobby, it's a thing, whatever it is. As soon as you present that you do it or you're interested in it, somebody else will share they are too. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy, but
Mhm.
somebody has to start it, right? And like anything, but once it starts, it tends to go, and it goes and it goes, and somebody will go get somebody else, like, hey, tell them about your thing, you
Mhm.
know, and for us, and this is what happened at Crescent at the Paracon there, right?
Right.
We set up a double booth. What was to be the team, the Jotnik's team, and then us as the podcast. And plans changed, and it was just you and I, Chad, and
Right.
with a double booth. So we set up a lounge, and we had a place just for people to sit with some love seat type sofas, and we had our booth itself with our stuff, but we had the show running on that other half, and we just sat down and asked people about how they got there. What brings you to the Paracon, or what's your interest in the paranormal, and the stories started to come. And it didn't hurt that we were right next to the food truck, right?
Right.
Never nowhere else to sit, so it helped us gain some folks coming in. But those who did were willing and open to engagement. And it led to some really cool conversations with people,
And
and
it was
that's
across.
that's priceless. I mean, we wouldn't document any of it. We weren't intending to do it really, I guess, as a sense, but
Right.
there's something to that, and I don't think that's something we do enough
Right.
with each other. We don't listen to each other's stories. We're looking for other stories of things and places, but we've all got them too.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool because we had a 14-year-old and we had a grandparent. Like we were getting stories from across all the ages, and it was just really cool to see.
Yeah.
So So,
And then the rains came.
well,
And then it got flooded.
yeah,
Then we nearly got swept off the hilltop. But hey, then we wrote our own ghost story.
yep. So,
I mean,
go ahead.
with how haunted Crescent is.
And it's back, by the
I
way.
know, I saw. I want to go back.
It is so cool to see that they're opening again. New ownership, new direction, new intentions.
Good.
But the site is up and running, and reservations are going to start for paranormal investigations really soon.
I want to go back, and I want to go sit in the chapel again and just look up at the balcony again, because when we went and investigated there was something up there. It just didn't want to crawl on the ceiling like everyone says it does.
Okay.
Well, we each have our own communication with the spirit that's there, and maybe some people manifest it on the ceiling, and maybe you're not meant to see it on the ceiling. One of the,
I need to find the live stream that I did too, because it was interesting. The camera down on the ground, it would be focused and everything, and as soon as I'd go up to the balcony, I would just lose focus. It was like it did not want to be seen. It was super cool though.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting place. Bert's got 2 other places near Crescent that he's looking into.
There's his road trip folder.
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. DOS houses right there. There's the Midway Hotel.
And just to give them a quick plug, I saw today that they had an opening come up next weekend, last minute drop off. And so if anyone's in Loretto, PA, and it's a heated, enclosed location, it has free coffee. So DOS House, DOSSOUHOUSE. You can find them real quickly on Google search.
Yeah.
Well worth the investment. Very inexpensive investigation as well.
Yep. So, and an easy area to get around. I mean,
Absolutely.
So, Kirstin, nice job, and I like this discussion that we had following up on it. Stepping through the pictures individually was really cool. I like that.
Yeah,
so. I liked it too. It was. I feel like with both having the history and the haunt, and kind of just getting to deep dive a bit more into the photos was nice.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Bert's agreeing. The DOS house is a reasonable price.
Yeah. So I guess what I'd like to say here, for the listeners, if anybody's in the UK or around the UK or been through the UK and has been to the palace, share us your thoughts. What your experience was there. Someone who's seen it first up in person. If it's just simply this, describing the scale and size and all of it. Whatever it may be, whatever experience you're willing to share, we'd love to hear from our listeners on this as well, because obviously it's been around for a very, very long time, and many folks have been there. It is open to the public. So please do.
Absolutely.
So, any final thoughts before we move on to what's coming up?
Oh, good.
All right. So coming up next week, I've got the one that I'm calling Gavel and Ghosts, Paranormal Cases in the Law. There have been a couple interesting ones out there where people have had sightings that maybe got an investigation reopened. That was the case closed, and then all of a sudden it wasn't closed anymore. And a murder victim may have been murdered instead of just natural causes, things like that. So several things definitely interesting.
I'm sorry, I saw Bert's comment.
Yeah, this comment. Well, what kind of, sorry guys, let me click that again. What kind of plants are in the informal garden? The wondering emoji.
We'll leave that to your imagination.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you go there and you summon the ghost of Henry, he'll tell you.
Yep. So,
remember, if it's leaves of 3, you leave it be.
Yeah. Yes. So this one's going to be interesting. Again, I want to thank our friend Megan Baum, who suggested this back when we did the episode on Gretna Theater, and there's
Whispers in the Dark.
Whispers in the Dark. That's it. Which speaking of Gretna Theater, their season's coming up.
It is.
Check out that website and see what they've got going on. I know their 99th season is. I got something today in the mail saying, their 99th season is opening. They're having their gala, so check it out. It's always great to support local arts.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, and then let's see. After next week, we've got the glowing people of Barraca de Bathazo.
Not even close.
Well, it depends where you look it up in the pronunciation. So,
have you ever seen Army of Darkness?
No.
The
Yes.
wonderful film. There's a scene where Bruce Campbell's character has found a spell book, and they're trying to defeat the Army of Darkness. And if he says this quote, it'll make everything go away. And he just totally mumbles it, and because he doesn't want to read it right, so he just mumbles it through. And they're like, "Did you say the quote? Words?" And he said, "I said them, most of them." So it is, to be clear. It's, and I had to write it down phonetically for myself because I Googled it today to be 100% sure that I'm saying it right. It's Barunco Badazo.
Now, see,
it's a very Spanish. It's a very Spanish thing, like Spain Spanish. So
right, but apparently that's the Anglicized. Yeah, I can't even say that word.
Right,
because there was a second pronunciation that was not Anglicized. There.
We've stumbled on things before, and I said it once a long time ago, and I regretted saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway. We're probably going to wind up Americanizing this thing, so making it be something that's a little easier to pronounce. But I'm going to try to be true as well, though.
So,
Jamie,
you're just not allowed to put these words in the title anymore.
I know.
Yes.
So,
it's a physical place, though. I can't change that.
So, all right. Well, some that I can pronounce, since we're I'm going to butcher pronunciations on things like that. February 3rd is the man, the myth, the Mothman. That one I got. February 10th, I can't say that word. Elemental Echoes, Ancient Forces, Modern Encounters. And then February 17th, The Croak in the Night, The Legend of the Loveland Frogmen.
Frogmen. We got to change that title.
That's a lot.
That's too much. Anyway, yeah, The Loveland Frogmen. I'll take that one. Looking forward to it.
So, let's see. What else do we have going on? It's coming up fast. January 30th and 31st, we will be in Hanover, Virginia, right outside of Ashland and outside of Richmond, in between those two places, at the Hanover Tavern Paracon, a great venue. We have dinner reservations for Saturday night.
I still need to get a hotel.
Same here. I got to figure when I'm going down and coming back and all that fun stuff. But
it's been really look at their ratings on some of the hotels before you book, because some of them I've been looking and not worth it.
So anyway,
in Greater Richmond, though, there's a plethora of opportunities. So it won't be hard.
And I've got a friend who lives within an hour, so maybe I'll just go stay in Williamsburg. Who knows?
A research trip.
Yep. So our friend Steve Dills, Transcend Paranormal, and that gang will be hosting this at the Hanover Tavern. It is a fundraiser for the Hanover Tavern. Like I said, great venue. Check it out. Come see us. We'll be there Friday and Saturday. There's information on Facebook, and I forget what the ticketing site is, but it's all linked through Facebook, so check it out there.
It's there, or they have a website for it as well. But if you Google Hanover Tavern Paracon, you'll find it right away. It's first item up.
And they have released their second wave of personalities who will be there, so check that out and see who you can go rub elbows with.
Yeah, a ton of people. So that's gonna be great.
So, and as always, you found us here on Facebook or YouTube, or you're listening to us on one of the streaming services. But you can check out the Jotniks website at www.jot-nixparanormal.com. You can email us at paranormallenspodcast@gmail.com, or you can check out our link tree, which has all our links to social media, to our online store, anything like that, which is Linktree, which is linktr.ee /paranormal lens. And we talked about it last week. We launched a Buy Me a Coffee site to help cover the cost of our expenses for doing the podcast, which is buymeacoffee.com /paranormal9. Or if you are seeing this, there's a QR code there. We want to thank Bert and Heather for being our first sponsor. We really appreciate that. It was great to have you reach out and help us with that. So thank you very much. And anybody who wants to help us out, we really appreciate it. We like doing this, but there is a little bit of a cost to it. It's over the years, it adds up. So, but that's what I got on that, I think. Yeah. So what do we got now?
Well, it's thanks to Kirstin for this great topic. It's tough to tackle a big historical location that is active. There's so much. To keep it to a digestible presentation. I know you could have went for an hour or two, or done a Steve Dills on this.
If I would have done every single era, it would have been probably an hour and a half.
A really good job of hitting the highlights, the high notes of it all, and then still having the direct context, to the activities around the location. So I really appreciate what you've got there. Thank you. Good presentation.
Yeah. Nice
Thanks.
So,
all right. More so.
All right. Well, then let's wrap it up and call it a week. From royal ambition to restless spirits, Hampton Court Palace challenges us to question where history ends and the paranormal begins. Whether these hauntings are echoes of the past or something more, one thing is certain: the palace is far from empty. So until next time, stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.